Now to start this demo, I'll log into my Azure account with my global administrator user account. To do that, I'll have to navigate to portal.azure.com. On prompt, I'll have to use the functional email address, which is testolivetech@gmail.com. This is the same email address or same email account that I used during the sign up process and got converted into a global administrator user account within my newly created Azure account. It'll prompt me for the password. And it logs me in to this directory, which is named as Olive Tech. If I hover over this little detail, it shows me the name of my Active Directory is olivetech.io. The email address that I'm currently logged in to this directory, Azure Active Directory, is testolivetech. The directory ID along with its name is in front of the directory, which is Olive Tech, and the directory ID or the tenant ID in this case would be C671. The domain that this directory is currently associated with is olivetech.io, which is my own personal domain. This is the homepage that was provided to us when we used testolivetech@gmail.com, and this homepage is also dependent upon the directory that we are currently logged in to, which is Olive Tech. I'll go into the search bar and type Azure Active Directory, and it'll give me the service name and take me to this overview page of the current directory, and to view even more information of the directory, which is the name of the directory, the tenant ID, the primary domain associated with this directory, and the type of license which is attached with this directory instance, which is Azure AD free license. Currently it has 5 user groups. Currently it has 5 users and 3 applications and 3 devices associated within this directory. But in order to create a new directory, let's go and click on the button Manage Tenants, where it'll give me a list of all the directories which I have within my account, within my Azure account. As you can see, there's another directory named default directory, which is currently not set to default for this user testolivetech@gmail, and that's the reason that upon logging, it took me straight to the Olive Tech directory with the domain name with an attached domain name of olivetech.io. You can also see both these tenants are associated with the same account but have different organization IDs, which represents that you can import different, or you can provision different Azure Active Directory tenants or instances with different domain names as a separate and unique organization IDs mapped to each one of them. The first order of business that I want to do here is make the default directory, the organization name as default directory, which I gave as the default tenant for this user testolivetech@gmail.com. And if you can also see the domain name by default, which gets associated in the default directory, is testolivetech@gmail.onmicrosoft.com. Now, one thing to notice within this is on.onmicrosoft.com is the suffix that gets added to your domain name, and the whole domain name gets created by removing the special characters from the functional email account that you used during your sign up process and gets added with the suffix of .onmicrosoft.com in your default directory, which is not in the case in my second instance of Azure Active Directory, which is named as OliveTech and comes with the domain name olivetech.io. So we will demonstrate how to reach from default directory and to be able to configure your own domain. In order to do that, let's hit the create button, which will take us to the basic tenant type options to create our Azure Active Directory instance. The tenants that we can choose from is Azure Active Directory and Azure Active Directory Business to Customer. These are the two types. These are the two instance types that we can provision utilizing the Azure Active Directory service on Azure account, within our Azure account. Let's, for the purpose of this demo, we'll stick to the default Azure Active Directory, which comes with Azure Active Directory free license, and move ahead to configure this instance. The organization name would be OliveTech Research and Development. The initial domain name would be OliveTech. Let's try with olivetech.onmicrosoft.com, see if it's available, because it will do a validation check for us. When we try OliveTech, it says already in use by another directory, and not just this within this account, but it scopes over the whole Azure account, Azure public cloud. So we'll try to change this as OliveTech R&D and check if it's valid and available for us. Looks like this one is available. So OliveTech R&D, and the complete domain would become olivetechrnd.onmicrosoft.com. We are configuring it to provision it within United States. That would be in the data center location, which physically will be holding or will be managing this instance on behalf of Azure for us would be within United States, and one of the data center locations within United States. I'll go ahead and hit review and create. Seems like the validation passes. I'll hit create and wait for the CAPTCHA to pop up as a security measure. Complete my CAPTCHA prompt and hit submit. This will initiate the tenant creation process, which it says might take a few minutes. So let this operation complete and we'll resume our demo. Welcome back. Now that we can see the tenant creation process or the operation was successful, and it prompts us on the success, it prompts us to click on the new tenant, which is OliveTech Research and Development. So we're going to do that and log in to our newly created tenant, which has a new tenant ID and it's unique in nature. Has at the overview page, as we can see, the basic information, we can see the name that we designated for this newly created tenant, which is OliveTech Research and Development. The operation automatically assigned the tenant ID, a unique tenant ID across Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform. The primary domain on which this Azure Active Directory tenant will be is associated with is OliveTech R&D on Microsoft.com, and it is of Azure AD free license type. Let's explore the number of users, which it highlights only one. Let's explore the user section here. and we will see that there's only one user account, which is testolivetech@gmail.com. If we click on this user account and check on the assigned roles, it travels with the assigned role of global administrator, which means this particular user account has all the privileges, and it clearly says your role global administrator. It comes with to manage all the aspects of Azure Active Directory and Microsoft services that use Azure Active Directory identities. This is one of the identities itself, and has got the global administrator RBAC role. It's been assigned with global administrator RBAC role. So that completes our first type of Active Directory instance, which is Azure Active Directory, the default Active Directory instance, or the default Active Directory tenant type. We have not attached any subscription yet with this tenant, so we won't be able to see any subscriptions at the moment, but this is how simple it is. And if I hover over this, you'll see, unlike previously, the name of the directory, the email remains the same, the name changes, the directory itself is Olive Tech Research and Development and has a new directory ID, and the domain that is attached with this directory instance or this tenant is olivetechrnd.onmicrosoft.com. I'll quickly go back to Azure Active Directory and just confirm on one more thing, which is manage tenants. And if we have a look at the manage tenants, it will show us a listing of 3 tenants now. 2 from previously that we saw, Olive Tech and default directory, and the third one which was newly created right now, Olive Tech Research and Development, and which becomes the default directory for testolivetech@gmail.com. So if I keep it as is, as soon as I log in with testolivetech@gmail.com, it will take me to this particular directory instance, but not Olive Tech or default directory. So let's change this to default directory because I want to assign the default directory for test Olive Tech initial login. One more thing that I wanted to check within this is if I can change the name of this directory. I think I would not be able to do that. Yeah, that won't be possible. Change the name. Edit. Can I change the name? I can change the identity, but not the name. Maybe not. So that completes the first part of our demo, which is to create a new Active Directory instance, a new Active Directory tenant with all the defaults, and associating it with a domain name, a default domain name as well, which is provided by Microsoft itself. Thank you everyone, and hope to see you in our next video.